welcome to our deep dive, and today it's all about the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone's throwing around these terms like AI and automation.
Right.
But what does it all really mean, for you and for me?
Exactly.
We've got a stack of articles and research, even some interesting bits from Wikipedia to try and make sense of all of this.
Yeah.
And we've got expert speaker here with us to help us kind of break it all down.
It's easy to get lost in the hype.
Yeah.
But this isn't just a tech upgrade.
Right.
It's like a societal shift.
Okay.
Imagine the jump our ancestors made from like foraging to farming.
Okay.
That's the scale we're talking about here.
That's a pretty mind-blowing comparison.
Yeah.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty, remind me, how did we even get to the term Fourth Industrial Revolution?
Okay.
Did someone just decide it was time for another one?
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
The term Industry 4.0 actually started with a very practical German government project back in 2011,
Okay.
all about computerizing manufacturing.
So robots on assembly lines, that sort of thing?
That was the initial focus.
Okay.
But it quickly became clear that the implications were way bigger.
Right.
Think about it.
Yeah.
We've already had 3 industrial revolutions.
Right. Yeah, steam power,
Steam power, exactly.
electricity,
Yeah,
and then computers and the internet.
exactly.
Each one kind of completely reshaped society.
Suddenly reshaped society.
Yeah. So I'm starting to see how this one is different.
Right.
But what exactly makes this revolution so different from the others?
Okay.
Is it just that technology is advancing faster now?
It's more than just speed.
Ah.
It's the sheer scope and the way these technologies are all impacting each other.
Right.
So imagine a world where, like, your fridge can order groceries before you even realize you're out,
Yeah.
where your car dries itself while you work on the go,
Okay.
and where doctors can 3D print a new kidney for you.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're talking about more than just faster computers.
Definitely.
What are some of the key technologies driving this revolution, and how are they already changing the world around us?
You're right. It's a whole ecosystem of advancements.
Yeah.
Let's start with artificial intelligence.
Okay.
It's not just about like smarter phones.
Right.
We're talking about algorithms that can diagnose diseases more accurately than human doctors,
Wow.
or personalize your education based on how you learn best.
That's incredible.
It is. Yeah.
But with all this talk about AI, I can't help but think about, those headlines about robots taking everyone's jobs.
Right.
Is that something we should be worried about?
It's a valid concern.
Okay.
One study by the Oxford Martin School really dug into this.
Okay.
They found that telemarketers
Okay.
and data entry clerks
Mm-hmm.
are at high risk of being automated.
Okay.
But on the flip side, jobs needing human connection, like therapists
Right.
or mental health counselors, are much safer.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
No,
Some people will need to adapt.
absolutely. This isn't about robots versus humans.
Right.
It's about figuring out how we can work together.
Right.
Imagine a world where AI handles the tedious tasks,
Okay.
freeing up humans to focus on things that require creativity, empathy, and critical thinking.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about AI,
Right?
but what about some of these other technologies that you mentioned? You talked about 3D printing and something called the Internet of Things.
Right. 3D printing is already revolutionizing manufacturing.
Okay.
Imagine printing custom-designed prosthetics for a fraction of the cost,
Wow.
or even building affordable housing with 3D printed materials.
Okay.
And the Internet of Things is all about connecting everyday objects to the internet.
Uh-huh.
Think self-driving cars talking to each other to avoid accidents,
Right.
or sensors in your home adjusting the temperature and lighting automatically.
Okay, that's starting to paint a clearer picture of what this revolution looks like.
Yeah.
But how are all these changes affecting businesses? Not just in some distant future, but right now.
Well, think about companies like Uber.
Okay.
They completely disrupted the taxi industry
Yeah.
by leveraging technology to connect drivers and riders directly.
Okay.
And it's not just about new companies.
Right.
Established businesses are also using data analytics
Okay.
to enhance their products, optimize their operations,
Well,
and even predict maintenance needs before problems arise.
it sounds like companies that can adapt are the ones that will survive in this new world.
Yeah,
But what about companies that have been around for decades?
right.
How can they keep up with all these nimble startups?
One key is collaboration.
Okay.
We're seeing partnerships between large corporations with resources
Right.
and young, innovative startups with cutting-edge ideas.
Okay.
Take Siemens, a huge industrial company. partnering with IOSTI, a machine learning startup.
Okay.
It's a win-win.
So big companies need to learn to play nice with the little guys.
Yeah, I think so.
But what about the changes that are happening within companies themselves?
Yeah.
How are they adapting their internal structures and processes?
Adapting internal operating models is crucial.
Okay.
Companies need to embrace more agile strategic planning, flatter organizational structures,
Okay.
and faster decision-making processes to keep pace with the speed of change.
Okay.
Think of it like steering a ship in rough waters.
Right.
You need to be nimble and responsive.
Sounds stressful.
Can be, yeah.
But I guess the companies that can adapt are the ones that will thrive in this new landscape.
Right.
So we've talked a lot about the impact on businesses.
Yeah.
But what about society as a whole?
Okay.
How is the fourth industrial revolution changing the way we live,
Yeah.
interact, and even define ourselves as human beings?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The fourth industrial revolution is challenging many of our fundamental assumptions
Okay.
about what it means to be human.
Like what?
Well, think about it. This revolution is impacting everything from our sense of privacy
Uh-huh.
and our notions of ownership
Okay.
to our consumption patterns, our work-life balance, and even our relationships.
Wow.
It's even leading to advancements in fields like neurotechnology and biotechnology that could enhance our physical and cognitive abilities.
Hold on. Human augmentation.
Yeah.
That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It might sound futuristic,
Right.
but the line between science fiction and reality is blurring faster than ever before.
Okay.
We're talking about a future where technology could help us live longer, healthier,
Uh-huh.
and more fulfilling lives,
Okay.
but it also raises some serious ethical questions.
Right. Those are some big questions we need to be asking.
We do.
But I have to ask, with all this technological advancement, is there a risk of increasing inequality?
Okay.
I mean, if robots are taking jobs and only the wealthy can afford the latest tech,
Yeah,
what happens to everyone else?
it's a valid concern and something we need to be actively addressing.
Okay.
Statistics show that currently the richest 1% control half of global assets,
Wow.
while the bottom half owns less than 1%.
Okay, so the wealth gap could become even wider.
It's a real possibility.
Okay.
That's why it's crucial to have open and honest conversations about how we can use technology
Right.
to create a more equitable and sustainable world for everyone.
Right, not just a select few.
Not just a select few, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But with all this talk about robots and algorithms, what about the role of digital media in all of this?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm constantly bombarded with information from all directions these days. Is that shaping how we form communities and interact with each other?
Digital media is a powerful force,
Yeah.
and it's changing the way we connect and form communities.
Okay.
It can be incredibly empowering,
Right.
allowing us to connect with people around the world
Uh-huh.
and mobilize for causes we believe in.
Yeah.
But it can also be used to spread misinformation
Right.
and manipulate public opinion.
Okay.
We need to be mindful of how we use these tools
Right.
and be critical consumers of the information we encounter online.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
It can bring us together,
it can.
but it can also drive us apart.
It can, right?
With all this disruption and uncertainty.
Right.
Can we actually do anything to shape the future of the fourth industrial revolution?
Okay.
Or are we just along for the ride?
That's a great question, and it
Yeah.
brings us to a really important point.
Okay.
Technology is not some external force that's happening to us.
Okay.
We have the power to shape its evolution through the choices we make every day
Okay.
as citizens, consumers, and investors.
So we're not just passive bystanders. We
Right.
can actually make a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But we need a shared understanding of technology's impact
Right.
and a clear vision for the future we want.
Okay.
We need to be proactive,
Uh-huh.
not reactive.
Okay.
And we need to work together
Right.
to ensure the technology is used to benefit all of humanity, not just a select few.
It sounds like collaboration is going to be key.
It is.
We need to work together across industries, between companies,
Yeah.
and as a global society to make sure that this revolution benefits everyone.
Precisely. The fourth industrial revolution is a global phenomenon,
Yeah.
and it requires a global response.
Okay.
We need to ensure that technology is used to create a more equitable, sustainable,
Right.
and prosperous world for all.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
But what about governments? What role should they play? I mean, how do you even regulate something that's changing so rapidly?
That's one of the biggest challenges governments are facing right now.
Yeah.
The rapid pace of technological change is putting a strain on traditional policymaking processes
Okay.
that were designed for a much slower world.
So the old ways of doing things aren't working anymore.
Not really.
Okay.
Governments need to become much more agile and collaborative.
Okay.
They need to find ways to foster innovation
Right.
while addressing the potential risks and challenges posed by these new technologies.
Right. It's a balancing act for sure.
It is, yeah.
So are there any examples of governments that are doing a good job of adapting to these changes?
There are some encouraging examples.
Okay.
The UK government published a policy paper back in 2019
Okay.
called Regulation for the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
That highlights the need to evolve current regulatory models.
Okay.
And countries like Australia, Estonia, Indonesia, India, and even Uganda are actively creating strategies
Wow.
and task forces to harness the potential of the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
So there's a lot of activity happening around the world.
There is, yeah.
But with all these efforts to embrace the Fourth Industrial Revolution, are there any potential downsides or risks
Yeah.
that we should be aware of?
Definitely one of the biggest concerns is the potential for increased surveillance and control
Okay.
by governments as technology advances. It becomes easier for governments to track our movements,
Yeah.
monitor our communications,
Right.
and even influence our thoughts and behaviors.
Whoa, that's a scary thought.
It is.
How do we balance the need for security with our right to privacy in this new technological landscape?
It's a delicate balance
Yeah.
and one that we need to be very mindful of.
Okay.
We need to have strong safeguards in place
Right.
to protect our privacy and civil liberties, even as we embrace the potential of new technologies.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So aside from government surveillance,
Right.
are there any other risks we should be concerned about?
Cybersecurity is another major issue.
Okay.
As our world becomes increasingly interconnected,
Right.
we're becoming more vulnerable to cyber attacks.
Yeah.
Think about what could happen if hackers were able to disrupt critical infrastructure,
Right.
like power grids or transportation systems.
That's pretty frightening.
It is, yeah.
So it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right.
There are some real dangers lurking in the shadows of this revolution.
There are.
Okay.
That's why it's so important to have open and honest conversations
Right.
about these issues. We need to be aware of the risks and work together to mitigate them.
It sounds like the Fourth Industrial Revolution is forcing us to rethink a lot of our fundamental assumptions
It is.
about technology,
Wow.
society, and even what it means to be human.
Exactly. It's a time of profound change and uncertainty,
Yeah.
but also a time of incredible opportunity.
Okay.
It's up to us to decide what kind of future we want to create.
So what does all this mean for me as an individual? What can I do to prepare for this new world?
The most important thing you can do is to embrace lifelong learning.
Okay.
The skills that are in demand today might be obsolete tomorrow.
But with information changing so rapidly, how can individuals even know which skills to prioritize?
Right.
What advice do you have for navigating this uncertainty?
You're right. It's a fast-moving target.
Yeah.
But there are some general skills that will always be valuable no matter how much technology advances.
Okay.
Focus on developing your critical thinking,
Okay.
problem solving,
Uh-huh.
creativity, and collaboration skills.
So it's not enough to just get a degree and call it a day?
Not anymore.
Uh,
The pace of change is too fast.
okay.
You need to be constantly upskilling and reskilling to stay ahead of the curve.
Right.
And don't underestimate the importance of soft skills,
Okay.
like communication, empathy, and emotional intelligence.
Okay.
These are the skills that will help you build strong relationships, navigate complex social situations, and thrive in a world where technology is becoming increasingly intertwined with our lives.
So it's not just about the technical skills, it's also about the human skills.
Precisely, the Fourth Industrial Revolution
Yeah.
is creating a world where both technical and human skills will be essential for success.
Right.
Those who can master both will be the ones who thrive.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed.
It's
It's a lot to take in.
a lot to process.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is to stay curious, keep learning,
Uh-huh.
and don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
The Fourth Industrial Revolution is an ongoing process,
Right.
and we're all figuring it out as we go along.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
Absolutely. And remember, the future is not predetermined.
Right.
We have the power to shape it through the choices we make.
That's a very empowering thought.
It is, yeah.
You mentioned earlier that this revolution is changing who we are.
Oh,
Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
as technology becomes more integrated into our lives,
Okay.
it's starting to blur the lines between our online and offline selves.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly connected, constantly sharing information,
Right.
and constantly being bombarded with stimuli.
Yeah.
This can impact our sense of self,
Right.
our relationships,
Uh,
and our understanding of the world.
so it's changing how we relate to ourselves,
Yeah.
each other, and
Yeah.
the world around us.
Exactly, and it's raising some important questions
Right.
about privacy, autonomy,
Yeah.
and the nature of human connection in a digital age.
That makes me think about some of the ethical and moral dilemmas that we're facing.
Right.
You mentioned things like human augmentation and biotechnology.
Yeah.
Can you give me some specific examples?
Think about gene editing.
Okay.
We're already seeing breakthroughs in gene editing technologies
Mm-hmm.
that could potentially cure diseases like cystic fibrosis or sickle cell anemia.
Wow.
But what happens when we start using those technologies to enhance human abilities,
Okay.
like intelligence or athleticism?
Those are some big questions.
They are.
Are there any other ethical dilemmas we should be aware of?
The use of AI in warfare is a growing concern.
Okay.
Imagine autonomous weapons systems
Mm-hmm.
that can make life or death decisions without human intervention.
Wow.
This raises serious questions about accountability
Okay.
and the potential for unintended consequences.
That's really thought-provoking. So it's not just about the technology itself, but the potential consequences of its misuse.
Exactly. As we develop increasingly powerful technologies,
Yeah.
we need to be mindful of the ethical implications
Right.
and work to establish safeguards to prevent their misuse.
Okay, so with all this talk about the potential for good and bad,
Right.
are there any specific things we can do to make sure that the fourth industrial revolution leads to a more positive and equitable future?
That's a great question. And I think the answer lies in recognizing that technology is not a neutral force.
Okay.
It's a tool
Yeah.
that can be used for good or evil.
So it's not the technology itself that's the problem, but how we use it.
Exactly. And it's up to us to decide how we want to use it.
Okay.
Do we want to use it to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive?
Right.
Or do we want to use it to create a world where the gap between the haves and the have-nots grows wider?
That's a stark choice.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's one that we need to make consciously and collectively.
So we need to be mindful of the ethical implications of our actions.
Absolutely. We need to think about the long-term consequences of the technologies we create and the choices we make.
Okay.
And we need to ensure that those choices are guided by our values
Right.
and our commitment to creating a better world for everyone.
That sounds like a good starting point.
Yeah.
But how do we make sure that technology is used ethically?
Okay.
I mean, are there any specific principles or guidelines we can follow?
One framework I find helpful
Okay.
is the concept of human-centered design.
Human-centered design. What's that?
It's an approach to problem solving that puts people at the center of the design process.
Okay.
It's about understanding the needs, values, and experiences of the people
Mhm.
who will be affected by the solution.
So it's about designing technology that serves humanity
Exactly.
rather than the other way around.
Exactly. And I think that's a crucial principle to guide us
Yeah.
as we navigate the fourth industrial revolution.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do we put human-centered design into practice?
It starts by involving stakeholders in the design process.
Yeah.
This includes not just engineers and designers,
Mm.
but also users, community members, policymakers, and ethicists.
So it's about bringing together a diverse range of perspectives.
Exactly. It's also about being open to feedback and iteration.
Okay.
Human-centered design is not a one-time process. It's an
Mhm.
ongoing cycle of learning and improvement.
That sounds like a valuable approach.
Yeah.
Are there any companies or organizations that are already doing this well?
There are some great examples emerging. Google is one company that has a long-standing commitment to human-centered design,
Okay.
and they've incorporated it into everything from their products to their workplace culture.
So they're really walking the talk.
They are, and they're not the only ones.
Okay.
There are a growing number of companies and organizations
Yeah.
embracing human-centered design and
Mhm.
using it to create positive change in the world.
That's encouraging to hear. So what about individuals?
So-
What can we do to support this approach?
One important step is to be aware of the companies and organizations using human-centered design
Okay.
and support them with your purchases and your voice.
So we can vote with our wallets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can also advocate for policies that promote human-centered design.
Okay.
Contact your elected officials
Right.
and urge them to support legislation
Uh-huh.
that requires companies to consider the ethical implications
Right.
of their products and services.
So we can use our voices to shape the future of technology.
Precisely. We all have a role to play
Right.
in ensuring that the fourth industrial revolution leads to a positive and equitable future.
That's a powerful message. So with all this talk about the need for ethical and human-centered design,
Uh-huh.
are there any specific examples of technologies
Okay.
that are already having a positive impact on the world?
Absolutely. Healthcare is a great example.
Okay.
New technologies are being developed to diagnose diseases earlier,
Okay.
treat patients more effectively,
Uh-huh.
and provide personalized care.
So technology is helping us live longer, healthier lives.
That's right. It's also helping us address some of the world's most pressing challenges,
Okay.
such as climate change and poverty.
Right.
For example, renewable energy technologies are helping us reduce our reliance on fossil fuels,
Okay.
and mobile banking platforms are making it possible for people in developing countries to access financial services.
So technology can be a force for good in the world.
It absolutely can,
Right.
but it's up to us to make sure that happens.
Okay.
We need to use technology in a way that benefits all of humanity,
Right.
not just a select few.
That's a great goal to strive for. But with all this talk about the potential of technology to create a better future, what can we do to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands
Well,
or get used for harmful purposes?
that's a really important question.
Okay.
I think the answer lies in education awareness and regulation.
Okay.
We need to educate ourselves and our children about the potential risks and benefits of technology. We need to be aware of the ways that technology can be used for harmful purposes.
Okay.
And we need to create regulations
Yeah.
that promote responsible technology development and use.
So we need a multi-pronged approach.
Exactly. We need to address this issue from multiple angles.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So with all this talk about the risks and opportunities of the fourth industrial revolution,
Yeah.
what are you personally most excited about?
What excites me most
Really?
is the potential for technology to empower people
Yeah.
and create a more equitable and sustainable world.
Okay.
I believe that if we use technology wisely,
Yeah.
we can create a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
That's a beautiful vision.
It is, and it's one that I believe is within our reach.
So we need to work together to make it happen.
Exactly. We all have a role to play in shaping the future.
That's a powerful message. So with all this talk about the fourth industrial revolution, are there any books, articles, or resources you would recommend to our listeners who want to learn more?
Absolutely. The Fourth Industrial Revolution by Klaus Schwab is a great place to start.
Okay.
It offers a comprehensive overview of the key trends shaping the future.
And are there any other resources you'd recommend?
The World Economic Forum's website is another excellent resource.
Okay.
They have a wealth of information on the Fourth Industrial Revolution,
Perfect.
including articles, reports, and videos.
So we'll be sure to include links to those resources in the show notes for our listeners. So with all this talk about the fourth industrial revolution, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, but also very inspired.
That's a great place to be.
Okay.
It's a time of great change and uncertainty,
Yeah.
but also a time of incredible opportunity.
So we need to embrace the challenge and work together to create a better future.
Exactly. We can do this.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground from the, origins of the term Fourth Industrial Revolution to some of the key technologies driving it.
Yeah.
We've talked about how businesses and governments are trying to adapt to this new landscape.
We've talked about AI, 3D printing, the Internet of Things,
Right.
and even touched upon, the ethical implications of these technologies.
It's amazing to think how all of these advancements are blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological worlds.
That's a really crucial point.
Yeah.
In the past,
Right.
these were distinct realms. You had the physical world of like atoms and molecules,
Right.
the digital world of bits and bytes, and the biological world of living organisms.
Right. It's like they were separate universes
Exactly.
operating under their own rules.
Yeah. But now those lines are blurring.
Right.
We're seeing a convergence of these worlds,
Okay.
leading to some truly mind-boggling possibilities.
Yeah, like what?
Think about 3D printed organs for transplantation,
Wow.
or using synthetic biology to engineer new forms of energy,
Okay.
or clean up pollution.
So what does that mean for me? How does this convergence of worlds actually impact my life?
Imagine a world where you can download a design for a new chair
Okay.
and print it at home using a 3D printer,
Okay.
or a world where your doctor can sequence your genome
Uh-huh.
and tailor a personalized treatment plan based on your unique genetic makeup.
That's pretty wild.
It is.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a whole new era
We are, yeah.
of personalized and on-demand everything.
And this convergence also has the potential to revolutionize industries like manufacturing and agriculture.
Okay, in what way?
We could see factories that are completely automated, producing goods on demand with minimal waste,
Okay.
or farms that use sensors and data analytics
Right.
to optimize crop yields and reduce water usage.
It sounds like the possibilities are almost limitless.
They are, yeah.
But I guess there are potential downsides too, right?
Sure.
What happens if these technologies fall into the wrong hands?
That's always a concern with any powerful technology.
Yeah.
We need to be thoughtful about how we develop and deploy these technologies.
Okay.
And we need to have strong safeguards in place to prevent their misuse.
So it's not just about the technology itself,
Right.
but about the values and intentions behind it.
Exactly. We need to be guided by a strong ethical framework
Yeah.
and ensure that these technologies are used to benefit humanity as a whole.
Okay, that makes sense. So with all this talk about the fourth industrial revolution, I'm wondering if there are any historical parallels that can help us understand what's happening right now.
Okay.
Have we ever seen such a rapid pace of change before?
There have definitely been periods of rapid technological advancement throughout history.
Like what?
The invention of the printing press back in the 15th century is a great example.
Okay.
It completely revolutionized the way information was spread,
Okay.
leading to a surge in literacy and a flourishing of new ideas.
So you're saying that the printing press was like the internet of its day?
In a way, yes, it democratized access to information and had a profound impact on society, culture, and politics.
Yeah, I can see the parallels.
Yeah.
So how does the fourth industrial revolution compare to that?
Okay.
Is it on the same scale of impact?
I believe it is.
Okay.
The convergence of the physical, digital, and biological worlds
Right.
has the potential to reshape our lives
Yeah.
in ways that we're only beginning to imagine.
Okay.
We're talking about changes that could be as transformative as the shift from an agrarian society to an industrial one.
Okay. That puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
But with all this potential for disruption, what role should governments and policymakers play?
Right.
I mean, how do you regulate something that's evolving so rapidly?
That's one of the biggest challenges we face.
Yeah.
Traditional regulatory frameworks were designed for a much slower pace of change.
Right.
We need new approaches that can keep up with the speed of innovation,
Okay.
while also ensuring that these technologies are developed and used responsibly.
So it's about finding a balance between fostering innovation and protecting the public interest.
Exactly. Governments need to create policies that encourage experimentation and risk-taking,
Okay.
while also putting in place safeguards to prevent unintended consequences.
Okay.
We need to be thinking about things like data privacy, cybersecurity, and the ethical use of AI.
It sounds like a complex juggling act.
It is.
Are there any specific policy areas that governments should be focusing on?
One crucial area is education.
Okay.
We need to make sure that our education systems are preparing students for the jobs of the future.
Okay.
We need to be teaching them skills like critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and collaboration.
So we need to move away from the traditional emphasis on rote memorization
Right.
and standardized tests.
We need to help students develop the skills they'll need to thrive in a world where technology is constantly changing and evolving.
So it's not just about learning facts, it's about learning how to learn.
Exactly. And we also need to be thinking about how to support workers who are displaced by automation.
Okay.
We need to provide them with the training and resources they need to transition to new careers.
So retraining and upskilling are essential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And governments also need to be investing in research and development to drive innovation and create new technologies that will benefit society.
Okay. That makes sense. So government has a big role to play.
Yeah.
But what about businesses?
Okay.
How can they contribute to a positive and responsible fourth industrial revolution?
Businesses have a responsibility to think beyond profits
Okay.
and consider the broader societal impact of their actions. They need to be asking themselves, how can we use these technologies to create value
Right.
for our customers, our employees, and our communities?
So it's about adopting a more holistic view of success.
Exactly. Businesses need to be thinking about things like sustainability,
Okay.
ethical sourcing, and data privacy. They need to be transparent about how they're using these technologies
Right.
and be accountable for the consequences of their actions.
So it's not just about doing good, it's also about doing well by doing good.
That's right. Consumers are increasingly demanding that businesses be socially responsible.
Okay.
And investors are starting to factor environmental, social, and governance, ESG, factors into their investment decisions.
Yeah.
There's a growing recognition that sustainability and profitability are not mutually exclusive.
I'm glad to hear that. But with all this talk about the role of governments and businesses,
Right.
I'm wondering what role individuals can play.
Okay.
It's easy to feel like a small cog in a big machine.
I understand that feeling.
Yeah.
But the truth is that individual actions can make a big difference.
Okay, like what?
We can choose to support businesses that are doing good in the world.
Okay.
We can vote for politicians who are committed to responsible technology policies.
Right.
And we can use our voices to raise awareness about these issues.
So we have power as consumers, as voters, and as citizens.
Absolutely. And we can also make changes in our own lives to reduce our environmental impact and promote social justice.
Okay, how?
We can choose to buy less stuff, eat less meat, and use public transportation more often.
Okay.
Every little bit helps.
It sounds like you're advocating for a more mindful and intentional way of living.
I am. The fourth industrial revolution is an opportunity for us to rethink our values and priorities.
Okay.
It's a chance to create a world that is more equitable, sustainable, and fulfilling.
Right.
But that won't happen automatically.
Right.
It requires us to make conscious choices.
Okay, I like that. So you've mentioned that the fourth industrial revolution is a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
Are there any specific countries or regions that are leading the way in terms of innovation and responsible technology development?
There are definitely some standouts.
Okay, like what?
Scandinavian countries like Denmark, Sweden, and Finland are known for their strong social safety nets and their commitment to sustainability.
Right.
They're investing heavily in education and research and development, and they're at the forefront of developing ethical guidelines for the use of AI.
So they're setting a good example for the rest of the world.
They are, and they're proving that it's possible to embrace technological innovation
Right.
while also prioritizing social well-being and environmental sustainability.
Okay, I'm curious about other examples.
Okay.
Are there any other countries or regions that you find particularly inspiring?
Singapore is another interesting case study.
Okay.
They're using technology to improve everything from transportation to healthcare to education.
Okay.
And they're doing it in a way that's very mindful of the social and environmental impact.
Right.
They've even created a Ministry of Communications and Information
Wow.
to oversee the development and deployment of new technologies.
That's impressive. So are there any common threads or lessons we can learn
Okay.
from these countries that are leading the way?
I think one key takeaway is the importance of having a clear vision
Okay.
for the future you want to create. These countries have all articulated a vision for a society
Right.
that is both technologically advanced and socially responsible.
Okay.
And they're putting in place policies and programs to make that vision a reality.
So it's not enough to just embrace technology for technology's sake.
Right.
You need to have a purpose, a guiding principle.
Exactly. And I think another important lesson is the importance of collaboration.
Okay.
These countries are all bringing together diverse stakeholders,
Okay.
governments, businesses, academics, and civil society to work together on these challenges.
Okay.
They recognize that no one sector has all the answers.
Right.
And that we need to pool our resources and expertise to create a better future.
That makes sense. So it's about having a shared vision
Right.
and working together to achieve it.
Right. And I think it's also important to be willing to experiment and learn from mistakes.
Right.
These countries are not afraid to try new things.
Right.
And they're constantly iterating and improving their approach.
Yeah.
They understand that the fourth industrial revolution is a journey, not a destination.
Okay, that's a good reminder. So we've talked about the opportunities and
Yeah.
the challenges of the fourth industrial revolution.
Right.
But I'm wondering what the future holds.
Okay.
I mean, it's impossible to predict with certainty,
Sure.
but what are some of the potential scenarios that we might see playing out in the years to come?
That's a great question. And I think there are a few different possibilities.
Okay, like what?
One scenario is that we continue on the current trajectory
Okay.
with technology advancing rapidly and becoming increasingly integrated into our lives. This could lead to a world where we see significant improvements in areas like healthcare, education, and sustainability.
So a more optimistic scenario where technology is used for good.
Yes, but it's important to remember that even in this scenario, there are potential risks.
Okay, like what?
We need to be mindful of things like inequality, job displacement, and the concentration of power
Right.
in the hands of a few large tech companies.
So even in the best case scenario,
Yeah,
there are still challenges we need to address.
exactly. And then there's another scenario where we see a backlash against technology,
Okay.
perhaps due to concerns about privacy,
Mm.
job losses, or the increasing power of tech companies.
So a more dystopian scenario
Yeah.
where people turn against technology?
It's possible, and this could lead to a slowdown in technological innovation,
Okay.
increased regulation, and even social unrest.
That's a sobering thought. So is there a middle ground?
Okay.
A scenario where we can harness the power of technology while also addressing the potential risks?
I believe there is,
Okay.
and that's the scenario I'm most hopeful for.
Okay, what does that look like?
It's a scenario where we see a more balanced and thoughtful approach to technology,
Okay.
where we embrace innovation while also prioritizing human values and social well-being.
So a more human-centered approach to the fourth industrial revolution.
Exactly. It's a scenario where we use technology to empower people to create opportunity and to build a more just and sustainable world.
Okay, that gives me some hope.
Yeah.
But with all these different scenarios, how can we actually influence which path we take?
Okay.
I mean, it feels like the future is being shaped by forces beyond our control.
I understand that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is that we all have a role to play in shaping the future.
Okay.
The choices we make both individually and collectively will determine which paths we take.
Okay.
We can choose to support businesses that are using technology responsibly.
Right.
We can vote for politicians who are committed to ethical technology policies. And we can use our voices to advocate for a more just and sustainable future.
So it's about taking action both big and small.
Yes, and it's about having hope.
Mm.
I believe that if we work together,
Yeah.
we can create a future where technology is used to benefit all of humanity.
That's a powerful message, and it brings us back to the importance of collaboration,
Right.
which you've emphasized throughout this deep dive.
It's crucial.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more? Why is collaboration so crucial in navigating the fourth industrial revolution?
You know, one of the defining characteristics of the fourth industrial revolution is its complexity.
Okay.
We're dealing with a convergence of technologies
Right.
that are interacting in ways we're only beginning to understand.
Right.
The societal, economic, and political implications of these technologies are far-reaching and profound. It's simply too much for any one person or organization to grasp fully.
So you're saying we can't solve these challenges in isolation?
Exactly. We need to bring together people from different backgrounds, disciplines, and perspectives
Right.
to grapple with these complex issues.
Okay.
We need engineers and designers working alongside ethicists, social scientists, policymakers, and everyday citizens.
So you're talking about a truly multidisciplinary approach.
Yes, and it's not just about bringing different experts together.
Right.
It's about creating a space where everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas and perspectives.
Okay.
We need to break down silos and encourage open dialogue.
Okay. I see the value in that.
Yeah.
But how do we actually foster this kind of collaboration?
Okay.
It's easy to talk about breaking down silos,
Right.
but it's much harder to do in practice.
You're right. It takes effort, but there are things we can do.
Okay, like what?
Governments can provide funding for collaborative research projects
Okay.
that bring together academics, businesses, and nonprofits. Businesses can create internal structures
Right.
that encourage cross-functional collaboration.
Okay.
And we can all make an effort to connect with people outside our usual circles
Yeah.
and listen to their perspectives.
So it's about creating incentives, building bridges, and shifting our mindsets.
Exactly. We need to move away from a culture of competition
Right.
and toward a culture of collaboration.
Right.
We need to recognize that we're all in this together
Yeah.
and that we need to work together to create a future that works for everyone.
Okay, that makes sense. But I have to ask,
Yeah.
is collaboration really enough? The challenges we're facing are so complex and interconnected.
Right.
Is collaboration really going to be enough to solve them?
That's a great question, and I don't think collaboration is a magic bullet.
Okay.
It's not going to solve all our problems overnight, but I do believe it's an essential ingredient.
Okay.
We can't solve these challenges in isolation. We need to work together to pool our resources,
Right.
to share our knowledge,
Yeah.
and to support each other.
So it's a necessary but not sufficient condition.
Exactly. Collaboration is a starting point.
Okay.
It's the foundation upon which we can build a better future.
Okay, that makes sense. So with all this talk about the fourth industrial revolution, I'm wondering what it all means for the future of humanity.
Oh,
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new technologies
right.
and the potential for progress, but I'm also feeling a bit apprehensive.
Sure.
What does this all mean for our future as a species?
That's a profound question,
Yeah.
and one that I don't think anyone can answer definitively. But I can share some of my own thoughts.
Okay.
I believe that the fourth industrial revolution presents us with both unprecedented opportunities
Mm-hmm.
and unprecedented risks.
Okay.
We have the potential to create a world where everyone has access to healthcare education
Right.
and a decent standard of living.
Okay.
We have the potential to solve some of the world's most pressing challenges,
Like what?
like climate change
Yeah.
and poverty.
Okay.
And we have the potential to expand our understanding of the universe and our place within it.
So a lot of potential for good.
There is, but there's also the potential for great harm.
Okay, like what?
If we're not careful, these technologies could be used to create a world that is more divided,
Uh-huh.
unequal, and unsustainable.
Right.
They could be used to concentrate power in the hands of a few,
Uh-huh.
to erode privacy, and to even threaten our very existence.
So a lot of potential for harm as well.
Yes, and that's why it's so important to approach the fourth industrial revolution with both a sense of hope
Okay.
and a sense of humility. We need to be aware of both the potential benefits and the potential risks.
Yeah.
And we need to work together to ensure that these technologies are used for good, not evil.
So a balanced perspective is key.
Absolutely. And we also need to remember that technology is not a panacea.
Right.
It's a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or evil.
Right.
The future of humanity depends not on the technologies we create,
Okay.
but on the choices we make.
So we have agency.
We do. We have the power to shape the future.
Right.
The question is, what kind of future will we choose to create?
Wow. Those are some really big questions.
We are.
But I appreciate you taking the time to explore them with us.
It's been my pleasure. These are conversations we need to be having.
I agree. So with all this talk about the fourth industrial revolution, I'm wondering if there are any specific things that our listeners can do to get involved in shaping the future.
Okay.
I mean, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the challenges we're facing,
Right.
but what are some concrete actions that people can take to make a difference?
That's a great question. And there are actually a lot of things that individuals can do to get involved.
Okay, like what?
One is to educate themselves about these issues.
Okay.
Read books and articles, watch documentaries, and attend talks and conferences.
Mm-hmm.
The more we understand about these technologies and their implications,
Right.
the better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions about the future.
So knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can also get involved in our communities.
Okay.
There are likely organizations in your area that are working on issues related to technology and society.
Mm-hmm.
You can volunteer your time, donate money, or simply spread the word about their work.
So supporting organizations working on these issues.
Exactly. And we can also contact our elected officials
Okay.
and let them know that we care about these issues.
Mm-hmm.
Urge them to support policies that promote responsible technology development and use.
So using our voices to advocate for change.
That's right. And finally, we can make changes in our own lives
Oh.
to reduce our environmental impact and promote social justice.
Okay.
This could include things like reducing our consumption, eating less meat, using public transportation,
Right.
and supporting businesses that are committed to sustainability and ethical practices.
So living our values.
Exactly. The choices we make every day have an impact.
Yeah.
And by making conscious choices, we can help create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
So with all this talk about the fourth industrial revolution, I'm wondering if you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Okay.
I mean, we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, we have.
What are some key takeaways that you hope people will remember?
That's a great question. And I think the most important takeaway
Okay.
is that the fourth industrial revolution is not just a technological revolution.
Okay.
It's a societal revolution.
Okay.
It's changing how we live, work, and interact with each other.
Right.
And it's raising some profound questions about what it means to be human in a world that is increasingly shaped by technology.
So it's about more than just gadgets and gizmos.
Absolutely. It's about our values, our beliefs, and our aspirations for the future.
Right.
And it's up to all of us to shape that future.
Okay.
We can't just sit back and let things happen.
Yeah.
We need to be actively engaged in shaping the world we want to live in.
So it's a call to action.
The fourth industrial revolution is a time of great change and uncertainty.
Yeah.
But it's also a time of incredible opportunity.
Okay.
Let's seize that opportunity and create a future that is worthy of our humanity.
That's a beautiful sentiment. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the historical context of industrial revolutions
Yeah,
to these mind-blowing technologies shaping our present and future.
definitely.
We've talked about the potential for good and the need to be mindful of the risks.
Mm-hmm.
We've explored how this revolution is impacting businesses, governments,
Right.
and even our own sense of what it means to be human.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to take in. And I bet our listeners out there are wondering what it all means for them, on a practical level.
Right.
It's easy to get lost in the big picture.
It is.
But the fourth industrial revolution is ultimately about the choices we make every single day.
It is.
So let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and get down to, brass tacks.
Yeah.
What can our listeners do differently starting today?
Well, first, take a good look at your own skills and passions.
Okay.
What are you naturally good at?
Uh-huh.
What do you enjoy doing?
Okay.
And how do those things intersect with the trends we've been discussing?
Okay. Yeah.
The world needs both highly technical specialists
Right.
and people who can bridge the gap between technology and everyday life.
Yeah, I love that it's not just about coding. It's about being able to explain, complex concepts to your ground.
Exactly. Don't underestimate the power of communication and human connection
Yeah.
in a world that's becoming increasingly dominated by technology.
Right.
My second point,
Okay.
be a conscious consumer.
Okay.
Every purchase you make, every app you download is a vote for the kind of future you want.
So you're saying we should be doing our research
Yeah.
before we buy from a company or use their services.
Think about it. Are you supporting companies that align with your values?
Okay.
Do they prioritize data privacy?
Right.
Are they committed to sustainability?
Okay.
Are they using AI ethically? You have more power than you think to shape the marketplace
Yeah.
with your choices.
That's a good point. I never really thought about it that way before.
Yeah,
Now I'm going to be paying much closer attention to the companies I support.
I think we all should.
Yeah, for sure.
And third, don't forget those so-called soft skills.
Okay.
In a world where machines can do the routine tasks,
Right.
what sets humans apart is our ability to think critically, to be creative, to problem solve, to empathize, and to communicate effectively.
So those skills are becoming even more important in the age of automation.
Absolutely. These aren't just buzzwords.
Oh.
They're the key to thriving in the fourth industrial revolution.
Right.
Nurture those skills, seek out opportunities to develop them,
Uh-huh.
and don't be afraid to showcase them.
It's like you said earlier, the fourth industrial revolution is all about human skills combined with technological advancements.
Precisely. And that leads me to my fourth point.
Okay.
Don't try to navigate this revolution alone.
Okay.
Find your tribe, your community of people who are equally passionate about these topics.
That's a great idea. Where can people find these communities?
There are so many options: online forums, social media groups,
Uh-huh.
local meetups, even just a group of friends
Right.
who like to geek out about these things together.
Right.
The point is to surround yourself with people who inspire you,
Okay.
challenge you, and help you make sense of this rapidly changing world.
Yeah, it's like having a support group for the fourth industrial revolution.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
And finally, and perhaps most importantly,
Okay.
remember the human element.
Okay.
With all the talk about robots and algorithms,
Right.
it's easy to lose sight of what makes us human.
That's such an important reminder.
It is.
So how do we stay grounded amidst all this technological change?
Nurture those things that bring you joy
Okay.
and connect you to your humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Spend time in nature,
Mm-hmm.
cultivate your creative passions, make time for face-to-face interactions.
Yeah.
With loved ones. Don't let technology consume your life.
I love that it's about using technology to enhance our lives, not replace them.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between the digital world and the human experience.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Wow, that's a lot of great advice. I feel like this deep dive has really helped me understand the fourth industrial revolution on a deeper level. It's not just some abstract concept.
Right.
It's something that's shaping our lives right now
It is.
and will continue to do so in the years to come.
Absolutely.
And remember, listener, you're not just a passive observer in all of this.
Right.
You have the power to make choices that shape the future.
Yeah.
So what will your contribution be?
Right.
What kind of world do you want to create?
We hope this deep dive has equipped you with the knowledge and the inspiration
Yeah.
to navigate the fourth industrial revolution and make
Yeah.
it your own.
Make it your own.
I love that.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
And keep asking those big questions. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Run through the fire, you are in control. Yeah. Live in desire, no one can take your goal.